What's up, everybody? Back with another episode of The Hobby with Cage. I think this is our 17th episode, if my count is correct. I'm recording this right before the Heat Celtics game started. Here I am, doing Memorial Day festivities and all kinds of craziness, and almost forgot it's Monday. One of those holiday long weekends, and you're like, wait a sec, I didn't do an episode. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We've been on a nice cadence here, and I'm sitting here saying, all right, it's the weekend. I have to do an episode till tomorrow, but nope, it is Monday. So if you're listening to this Monday night, it means, you're listening to it late, 9 o'clock, 9:30, something like that. You might be listening to it Tuesday morning. And I appreciate that. So fun stuff. I hope you guys all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. I'll tell you, myself, I had a fun one. Nice long weekends are always interesting. I got to go see the Yankee game. So I post about that. That's always fun. It was a nice game. Got to see Tatis hit a home run. Get to see Yankees come back and win. Haven't been to Yankee Stadium in a while. It was hot. Sitting out there in the sun. Glad they had all those ice cream sandwiches. Bless you, buddy. And so anyway, bless you again. Oof. Shouldn't have gotten that pool. It was a little cold today. And then today, I've lived in my town for 19 years and I've never done this, but as the kids get older, they're more attached to stuff within the town and the school. And my daughter's middle school marching band was marching in the Memorial Day parade today. So we went into town and watched the parade. There was a line of Corvettes. I don't know what that has to do with Memorial Day, but I guess there's a Corvette club, and the fire department, and the Boy Scouts, and the veterans of foreign wars, and the American Legions, and then a whole bunch of marching bands from the middle schools and the high schools. So that was fun. It was interesting to watch everybody kind of get together. It's a day to get together. So it can be a little bit of a different episode. By the time you hear this, you probably have a winner in the Heat Celtics game. If I'm asked to make a call before it starts, and I am recording this before it starts, I think Tyler Hero might matter. One of the things in Game 6 that that didn't show up on the stat sheet is your undrafted free agents were all pulling the weight. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo did not have good games, and they still could have, and some say should have won that game. You get their 20-point player Hero back with a little bit of offense. I know it's on the road, but he has any kind of a game, and Bam and Jimmy jump back. It's gonna be interesting. Scott Foster's the ref. I'd like to see Butler in the finals if I'm allowed to say that, and mostly because I don't know what's gonna happen to Seablez if the Celtics win and come back. I mean, he doubled down, triple down, quadruple down, 5 times down, whatever that is, quintuple down, and it'd be nice if the Heat win for that guy. He made Bleacher Report, and he's going to make my news for the week. So how could he not? So anyway, with Memorial Day, I'll try to keep it short. I'll try to keep it interesting. I have I'm going to try to share my screen, and maybe you guys, you can take a look at a card here. Just a cool card. I'm trying to grab this now. Let's see, share screen. Let's share screen. B. Got this one here. I'm going to try to share the screen on this one. Hope I do all right. I don't know, guys, Share screen. Yeah, it's going to be this one right here. So there we go. Share it up. So what we're looking at here is a 1909-11 American Caramel E90-1 Eddie Grant. Eddie Grant playing for the Philadelphia Nationals. It's an SGC good 2. I'm going to leave it right there. Interesting card. They always put a lot of red by the lips. Looks like these guys are wearing lipstick. Fun card. Here he is with the Philadelphia team. Eddie Grant, born just south of Boston in 1883. Interesting story. I'll try to get into a little storytelling here with Eddie Grant now. Why it hits home for me. 3 years, early 20s, he went to law school. Smarter than me, clearly. He went to Harvard Law School in the fall and the winter and played professional baseball in the spring and the summer. You can see. There he is. He has a baseball card. Not like Jeff Wilson, like an actual baseball player. uh, good marriage of his passions, right? In 1906, he was purchased by the Philadelphia Phillies after a scout saw him play in New Jersey. And here you see him with his Phillies uniform on in a card 3 years after that. The team convinced him to pursue a career in the game, and by 1907, he was in their lineup. As a big league ball player in the early 20th century, Grant, sort of like me, again, he's a lawyer, he was an oddball. Instead of going out and drinking and chasing women and gambling, he stayed in his hotel room and read books about the law. While his teammates were mostly uneducated men who chewed tobacco and cursed, Grant had a law degree and liked to smoke a pipe. He should have been smoking cigars, but I guess a pipe was big back then. And he would read a lot of books. He was known for tearing pages out of his favorite volumes and taking the pages and putting them in his baseball uniform. I don't know if the games were that boring. Maybe he was out in the field reading the books, or maybe it was for the dugout, but as he was known to do. Always interested in proper grammar. One of the funniest stories that I found about Eddie Grant here, you could see, was while everybody else on his team called for a pop fly saying, I got it, I got it, I got it, Eddie would yell, I have it. I have it. Yet, in spite of his uncommon intellect and unusual personality, Grant was well liked by his teammates. Between the lines, he was a competitor and a skilled ball player. His best talents were bunting and stealing bases, small ball. He usually served as the Phillies' leadoff hitter or hit second for the team. He handled third base, sharing the left side of the infield with shortstop Mickey Doolin, who became his best friend on the Phillies. His best day in the majors came as a member of the Phillies in a doubleheader against the Giants in 1909 when he collected 7 hits, 5 of them off the great Christy Mathewson. And Grant joked that that was the only 5 hits he ever got off Mathewson. In 1910, he was traded to Cincinnati, where he played for parts of 3 more seasons before the Giants snatched him up. I'm going to stop sharing now because I think I have a card of his on the Giants. And here we are 7 minutes in. You're like, Cage, what are you doing, man, with this story of a dude who hasn't played in 100 years? What are you doing? We'll stop that screen. We're going to share screen and pull up another one because this guy's got a bunch of cards, which is pretty cool. Here's another fun one. This is a T202 1912 Hassan. They're called triple folders. You take a look at this one. There he is right there, Eddie Grant. And you can see on the Reds. So he was traded to Cincinnati in 1910. Played there for 3 years. Here he is. Shares a card with another one of his teammates. Cool SGC 4, right? It's a 50. 1912 Hassan triple folder card. All right. So there we go. We'll jump back. You can take a look at that. Come back to me. We'll remove that. We'll stop the screen. And there we go. Look at that. Look how good I did. So you saw some cards. You could look them up, Eddie Grant, right? So he played a little while for Cincinnati. The Giants got him in the middle of the 13 season. By that time, he was a 30-year-old player, mostly a lawyer, not really playing too much anymore. They used him as almost like a bench coach. Let's treat him as like Udonis Haslem type player, right? You know, he wasn't really getting into the games too much, but he was handling the personalities on the bench. At 32 years old, Grant retired prior to spring training in 1916 to devote his full attention to his practice of law. So here he is, a ball player. I never really was a great ball player. I'm not really that great of a lawyer either, but I guess this guy was good at both. Only able to really practice law for 1 year. What are you doing, bud? Besides making a lot of noise. Come here. Let me see. You putting something on my keychain? What is this? Oh, it's the doc from Back to the Future. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm just going to put that there. Thanks. Big thumbs up. Appreciate it, buddy. He was able to practice law for a year after retiring, but the United States declared war on Germany on April 6, 1917. And even though he was 33 years old at the time, would not have been drafted into service, he voluntarily enlisted, becoming the first major leaguer to ever do so. Hence why we spent the last 7 minutes talking about Eddie Grant, first major leaguer to voluntarily enlist in the service. The former third baseman served in the 77th Division, graduating from officers' training as a captain. More mature and educated than most of the other soldiers, he quickly became a natural leader, proved himself to be an excellent officer, And after 7 months of training, he arrived in France in early 1918 with his division. Fighting in the Argonne Forest of France in 1918 with the Statue of Liberty Division, the Harvard graduate distinguished himself as a fine leader and capable soldier. In October, his division was ordered to rescue the Lost Battalion, thousands of soldiers stuck behind enemy lines in the freezing cold without supplies or ammunition. When every single one of Grant's commanding officers were wounded or killed, he was placed in charge of the entire battalion on October 5th. Only moments after taking charge of the men, during a firefight, a German shell exploded almost directly on his location, killing Grant instantly. 2 days later, the Americans broke through and rescued the remaining members of the Lost Battalion, and 1 month later, the armistice was signed and the war was over. Grant had died only 44 days before the war ended. Interesting story, and you can connect it with the cards. So you have, I believe, the only major league player to die in service during World War I. Looked up a couple of other guys who died in service, ball players, professionals. I don't think any of them had cards. I could be wrong. A lot of them were younger. A lot of them looked like they were, probably in the league for a short time. Obviously, Eddie Grant was there for a little bit longer, which is why you see the couple of cards that he has. He may have even had a T205. I was looking for that one as well, but I figured the couple of ones that I showed you already are interesting. So, it's obviously it's story time there for Memorial Day. My son decides that he's going to come and make whatever kind of noise he wants during the background. I guess he's feeling ignored. Rattle the keys. And what are you, sharpening a pencil now, pal? Sharpening a pencil now. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, I guess school's tomorrow, so it is what it is. But no, I mean, listen, it's one of those things. You ran out of pencils. Good. So go ahead and sharpen a pencil, pal. Make all the noise you like. We see Pat Tillman cards, obviously. We see, all kinds of different ways of tributes to Memorial Day. This, I guess, could be mine. It could be my silly story of Eddie Grant. I could see it becoming a movie one day, terms like the Lost Battalion. Somebody like this who was a gentleman, a scholar, an officer, a ball player, a unique someone who, the ultimate sacrifice for country. And there are many, many people like him. This was just one that, the story was an easy one to tell because we talk about sports cards, right? And, an Eddie Grant, I'm definitely going to, at the end of this episode, I'll give it a week. Maybe there'll be somebody else who's listening to this who might want to add an Eddie Grant to their PC. I'll add an Eddie Grant card. None of these cards were too expensive. They'll add a card and it'll be one that I remember, right? We've talked about a bunch of cool stuff over the almost 3 years doing this. How wars changed the game. We talked about A League of Their Own and Dottie Kamenchek, who was the Dottie Henson character for A League of Their Own, the Gina Davis character. Here's another, interesting story, kind of things that, if you wanted to, it's not a national treasures. It's not a flawless card. It's not a break. It's not a collectors versus investors argument. It's not a, what's Fanatics got to do to come in and make things better, or, who's bailing out PWCC, or is it a rumor or a news, and, who's an elitist and who's not. Sometimes there are stories. Sometimes the cards tell stories. And, here's somebody who died over 100 years ago. Before that, went to Harvard Law and played baseball and then died for our country. It's just one of those things, one of those stories that I guess doesn't get told enough. And I figured, let me come on here and tell it myself. It's not going to be a half an hour. We're only about 15 minutes in. The only stuff that I'll tell you on that one is, I hope you guys had a good weekend. There's a lot of fun stuff coming out product wise. It's going to be, fun to see. Baseball, Top Series 2. I'm looking at that. Heritage came out. If you have a chance, take a look at how much they're printing of it. I saw a stat that showed from 2018 to now, the average base cards have basically 4x'd. So your base rookie cards, folks, there are 4 times as many of them as there were in 2018. I'm sure that the same type of printing increase has happened across sports and across all products. If you go back to how many, Jason Tatum Prism base cards there are printed, as opposed to how many, Paolo Banchero Prism base cards there are, I'm sure it's also a 4 or 5x as well, if not more. So that's interesting stuff to look out for. And one more story, obviously not Memorial Day related, but I try to do a Friday opening with Ian, and for a while there, we were swinging back towards Pokemon, and it wasn't really necessarily because wow, he was really getting into Pokemon more. It was more so that it didn't make a difference what product was coming out. It was going to be crazy priced. Whether it was an Obsidian box or a Chronicles box or a clearly Donruss box or whatever it was going to be $300, $400, $500. Forget about it. If you can get a Prism box for, near 1,000 or $1,200, you thought it was a bargain. So we gravitated more towards Pokemon because you can get, ETBs with 10 packs, $35, $40, $45. You're getting, full size boxes, booster boxes, 24 packs, and you're paying $100, $110, $125 if you needed to. So it was nice and easy. And, there was something to hit in each one of those. And it's funny, this past Friday for Friday opening, I don't know what I was expecting in store. I know Heritage came out, but I think my LCS had already allotted all of them for other people, so there was none for me. He had a bunch of hockey stuff. And when I went in, right before I left to go, I figured maybe I'd buy some baseball stuff. Who knows? It's baseball season. We were about to go to the Yankee game the next day. And my son said, Ian said, can you do me a favor and buy basketball? I mean, the most recent basketball that had come out was Flawless. My LCS doesn't have that. He hasn't done Flawless and National Treasures and exquisite stuff for 20 years. He used to do it way back in the day when it was, something that was accessible to him. So I said, all right, I'll look for basketball. And the only basketball that was available was Prism Draft basketball. So the collegiate basketball. And it was $100 for a box. I'm like, all right, I'm going to open that. And my son loved it. He absolutely loved opening it up. Now, do I know if we got back anything, worthwhile? Probably not. I mean, he got a Jaden Ivey, purple ice, I guess we'd call it, out of 99 auto, in his college uniform. Nice shape. I guess if we graded that, it'd probably be worth something. I know people don't really like the college stuff. But I got to tell you, he opened it with a friend outside, and they loved it. Loads of color, players they knew, old players. There was a Jason Tatum and a Duke uniform, and there was, all kinds of college stuff and, players that they all knew. And they really had fun opening it. And 4 autos. I mean, 4 autographs, I think, were in there for $100. $100. I think the last thing I spent nearly $100 on was a Prism retail for this year's Prism. And there was no auto, no anything in it. Just some base cards and no really good base cards at that. A couple of greens, and nobody good. So when you compare it, I know most people don't buy Prism for autos. The value that was there, it was interesting. He and his friends really seemed to enjoy opening that up and getting the cards that were in there, and it's people that they knew, albeit in college uniforms. And it's funny because it got me thinking: is that the kind of product that we may have in the future from Panini? Baseball especially is what they have now. And would it be the worst thing in the world? It's a fair priced product. The kids enjoyed opening it. And I got to tell you that it's been a while since I bought a box, spent $100 and didn't automatically do the calculation in my brain of, okay, how much of this am I going to get back? For a while there, when you were breaking these boxes, it's almost kind of second nature, right? And I would post about it, right? And Sports Card Nonsense and Geo, those guys that give me a hard time about it. I would post, and I'd say, okay, I just spent $250, $300, $400 for this box, and this is what we got. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get $12 back. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get, $26 back for this. This is garbage. None of this in here is even worth grading. I think that's because of the price that you are being forced to spend on these things. And again, that's no one's twisting my arm. No one's forcing me to buy the stuff, but I'll try to open something every Friday. And if the cheapest stuff is $250, $350, you're almost going into it looking at the return, saying, "How the heck can this be worth that?" But a box like this, it's not that you go into with no expectations, right? Because you don't know, but you spend $100, you know? I mean, I know that's not chump change, but by comparison to what I've been spending on boxes in years, in the years past, in the months past, in the weeks past that we've been buying stuff, buying $100 box that has 4 autos in it and cards of players you like, you're almost not as concerned about the return on it because I guess that's not what you're buying it for. You're buying it so that you have something fun to open, and the kids had fun opening it. And I think that's kinda swinging the pendulum back to the way that it's supposed to be. And there you go. So we have a little Memorial Day story. I hope I didn't lose you there with my, my slow roll and my screen sharing and all that other fun stuff. And then we have a Friday story here about, a different type of box opening. It wasn't Pokemon, but there was some shiny, colorful stuff in there and players that they knew. And even though it's probably something that we're not going to get the $100 in value back on, that's not something that the kids opening it were caring about while they were opening it. They were just laughing and pointing out all the players that they recognized, which reminds me of what I used to do when I opened cards in the 80s. Enjoy, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.